Death toll in Italy is now higher than anywhere else in the world.
There is much that we do not yet know about the
They've even
virus.
advised people not to shake hands.
In Europe, most of the streets silent.
Bringing the total of deaths there to 4,825.
Raised to the second highest level.
Organizers are advised to cancel or defer large-scale events.
A small military convoy carrying over 24 coffins out of Bergamo. Spain's number surging even more. 394 deaths in one day.
We expect that this is likely to take time to resolve.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Tromsø, Arctic Norway, where things have changed a little bit since last time I was talking to you all. So I thought today I would just sit down and have a good chat and let you know what's happening here. First of all, I just want to introduce you to Fudu and Delphin, who are here behind me. These are two of the definitely the cuter dogs in the dog yard out of the 300, and they're going to help me with this video this afternoon. I have been faced with quite a large decision here in Norway, and obviously that decision is whether I stay in Norway or go home. And obviously things have changed so much in the last few days due to the coronavirus spreading rapidly across the world. So at the time of making this video, there's 392 cases worldwide and 17,000 deaths have happened. This is on the 24th of March. So just so that you can know what information is out there when I'm making this video and my decisions. Obviously my options are to stay here in Norway where I am or go home to New Zealand to Gorge River. First of all, I am very fascinated to see how the world responds to this coronavirus, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see how economies react to it, how people react to it, how governments react to it, how countries can actually work together to solve this problem, or how countries don't work together to solve this problem, which is what I've seen so far happen a lot. And we're only very early on in the coronavirus problem. Probably my biggest disappointment with this all is actually that I had 2 days before Norway shut down, I'd just been offered basically an itinerary of expeditions to go into the Arctic and the Antarctic, which included like Svalbard, Greenland, Canada, Iceland, and like 14 trips to Antarctica. And so I had a full Arctic summer season lined up and a full Antarctic summer season lined up with Aurora expeditions and Intrepid expeditions as well. So I'm a little bit disappointed that some of these are definitely not going to happen, and I can only imagine that the rest is probably going to go along the same way. Potentially the Antarctic season might come to something. We'll just have to see how the world goes with the problem. So the advantages of staying here in Norway. Well, first of all, I don't have to navigate the 16,500 kilometers that lies between myself and my home at the moment, right across the world, which has obviously got a lot of unknowns at this stage. I have a part-time job here. Originally, we were all laid off, but I was allowed to live here at Vildmark Centre. And then within a couple of days, I got an offer just for like 30 to 50% of work. So I'm working part-time. I've worked 3 days since Norway closed down. Norway, by the way, closed down about a week ago. And we all kind of went into somewhat lockdown isolation. Like we're still allowed to go and do things, but we have no tourists here whatsoever. So Vildmark Centre 1 week ago closed its doors completely. And since then, we've just simply been feeding the dogs and just keeping Vildmark Centre going. So I do have a part-time job here that I can continue at least for a month or two if I want to. I also feel at home here, which is really nice, and our boss Tova has been incredible in inviting people to come and live here. Like she's lowered the rent a lot, and it's definitely one of the cheapest places in Norway, if not the cheapest place that I could be right now. It's not too expensive to stay here, and so I am happy to do that. Norway's also got a good health system, so that's something you don't have to worry about. I'm young and fit. If I do get the disease, I'm not worried because I should be able to fight it myself. Fingers crossed. I will let you know if that changes. Also here in Tromsø, we do have quite a lot of freedom because it's not a huge city. It's a city of about 60 to 80,000 people, and there's a lot of nature around, and we're not able to go and do like epic ski touring trips anymore, or like long multi-day trips to cabins or whatever, but we can still go dog sledding in our backyard here for a few kilometers, and potentially some short overnight kind of expeditions as long as we're not going too far. And we can also do some skiing as well, just as long as we're being very sensible and not putting ourselves into any risk. Now, the other option is obviously to go home. And I know a lot of New Zealanders who are out traveling around the world have already gone home. And a lot of people anywhere in the world have gone home. Countries have been asking people to go home. The advantage of going back to New Zealand, probably the biggest number one advantage, is I will sit this problem out at Gorge River. And Gorge River has got to be one of the best places in the world to be in a crisis like this. We can get all of our food from the local environment if we need to, and as far as isolation goes, there's no better place. If New Zealand is in a lockdown, which they enter a lockdown tomorrow, then no one's going to be coming to Gorge River to spread the disease. So we would be very safe there. It wouldn't matter how long the problem goes for, because I would be at home, and I'd obviously also be with my family, which is good. I could support my family if they needed to. New Zealand's got a really good healthcare system, so again, that one's ticked off. You don't have to worry about that. And I also wouldn't have to put strain on a foreign country, and I wouldn't have to feel unwelcome in Norway in any way, which I haven't felt unwelcome in Norway at all, just to say that. Now, the disadvantages in going home. I am currently high risk because up until a week ago, I was working with Italians, Germans, and French basically every day, like guests that were coming here. And some of them would have been sick. Probably some people carry coronavirus through Vilmark Centre here. None of us have been tested. Some people have definitely been sick from either a flu or the virus. We don't know because they haven't tested anyone here. So I'm high risk. And if I was to travel across the world, I could potentially spread the disease right through every airport that I go to, every aeroplane I go on, and then eventually take it home to New Zealand and then home to my family at Gorge River. So I don't want to do that. Another disadvantage is when I leave, as I said, it's 16,500 kilometers. You can't fly that in one flight. So I have to go through a few different airports. Now, all the airports in Asia, like Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, and Thailand, and then even Australia, they're not wanting people to transit through. So I'm not even able to go and land in Singapore airport and then get on exactly the very next flight out to New Zealand. I'm not able to do that anymore. The only places I can transit through are Dubai and Qatar, which do flights from Oslo, and they go through to Auckland. I could book one of those tickets. Tomorrow it could be cancelled. Tomorrow Qatar might not allow me to transit through. Dubai might not allow me to. Emirates has announced they're closing all flights to anywhere in the world, and especially to New Zealand. So there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of question marks. And the moment that I pack my bag here and leave, I am in limbo from Tromsø to New Zealand, and I could end up anywhere, right? I could get a temperature halfway. And not be allowed to board the next aeroplane. I could be stuck in quarantine in a country, could be any of those countries, and then in 2 weeks' time, once you get out of the quarantine, then it's definitely going to be impossible to go anywhere from that country, most likely. Yeah, so I would be giving up a really nice settled place here in Tromsø in search of getting home to New Zealand. That leads me on to the conclusion, which is what is my final decision, and it hasn't been an easy decision to make. Weighing up all of those options, but I have decided to stay here in Tromsø. So now I need to settle in and realize that this is my home for the next while. I'm going to have a little bit of part-time work here and there. I'm looking after the dogs, and that's going to vary depending on the weather and what jobs there are to do. I have a home relatively cheap to live here in Norway, so that's really good. And Tova has basically said just stay here and treat it like your home, and I intend to do that and respect the great opportunity that I've got to live here, and I really appreciate that, like, to no end. My biggest worry was to be stuck without a home and then not be able to get home to New Zealand. If I was to have to move out from Vilmark Centre and find an apartment, it's really expensive here in Norway, and I do have savings, but that won't last forever. That's my decision, and for now I just have to embrace that and make the most of it. Looking forward, however, two things I can see might happen in the world. One is that this passes over quite quickly, and if that's the case, maybe in a month or two, Norway kind of opens up, at least internally, if not externally, to other people coming and going. Perhaps the world's economies haven't crashed completely and people still got some money. They can come traveling. It's springtime by then, so I can probably live in a van or travel around some of Norway and kind of continue with the experience that I was looking for when I came and started to work here. And then after my visa finishes in Norway in November, then perhaps I can get another working holiday visa for another country in Europe, or I could move on to another continent somewhere, find another place to live, or obviously go home if I want to. So we will just see what happens there, and fingers crossed I'll be able to continue with some Antarctic work as well next summer. Now, the other thing that I think could well happen in the next few months is global economies crash and countries really start to struggle at the same time as this disease can just wipe through these countries, and a lot of people will die, a lot of people get sick, and health systems get overrun, therefore making the economy struggle even more and more, and people won't have jobs, people won't have money, and a lot of businesses will go bankrupt, go under, and the world will recover very slowly if that happens. And we're talking quite a few months, potentially a few years, and the world as we know it has changed completely in that example. If that does happen, Tromsø is an okay place to be. There's not a huge amount of population here compared to the rest of Europe, but there is still quite a lot of population when you consider how hard it is here to get food locally, hunting, fishing and growing food. Compared to some places, Tromsø is definitely not the easiest place. Imagine if you go way back, there was Sami people living here, but it's a very hard life living here, and there was not 80,000 of them in Tromsø. So to live a life a little bit like we live at Gorge River in the Arctic would be a huge challenge, which obviously I would be up to, but that's not easy. I've always had in the back of my head that if something does happen like this, which has always been possible, I could probably commandeer a yacht in some way, and I know that I've got the skills to sail back to New Zealand. Gorge River being the ultimate place that I would want to be if the world as we know it implodes. In the meantime, anywhere that I am, people can obviously benefit from the skills that I have from growing up at Gorge River. And I know that anywhere I am, people, will need that knowledge, because not many people in the world have that knowledge anymore, especially in the Western developed world. That is my thought process, what's going on at the moment in my head, and I hope that I've explained that well to you. Sorry I've been a little bit quiet on YouTube recently, but I've been busy doing a few other things. And now is a really good time for me to spend some time with you guys and discuss the world and what's going on. Maybe we'll even have to get political in a couple of videos here and there, because world's an interesting place right now. Obviously, with the world going in this direction, there's quite a lot of people who could probably benefit from a little bit of my knowledge. Having grown up in a place where it's being very self-sustainable and very isolated, which is what suddenly the world has gone back to in 1 month. We've gone back probably 300 years as far as isolation goes. If there's anything that you guys want to know and want some videos on, please just leave a comment in the link in the bottom of this video, and let's see if we can get some discussions going, because it's an interesting time. And let's share some knowledge around the world to help each other out. One thing that's still going at the moment is internet. Internet's going strong, so yes, keep that up. We'll see how long that lasts for. So that's all for today, and Fudu, Delphin and myself will say goodbye now. And stay safe out there, guys. If you are anywhere in the world that has got quarantines and lockdowns, please follow the damn rules. There is no excuses here. Millennials are getting a really bad rap at the moment for not listening and not following rules. please don't be one of them. Don't be a covidiot. It's a brand new word. Don't be a covidiot out there. Yeah, be sensible, stay safe, stay well, and let me know how you're getting on. All right, that's all for today. Thank you. Adios. Goodbye.